I'll call the meeting to order. Let's begin with some obligatory procedural matters. This hearing of the Medford Community Development Board is being conducted via remote means. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023. A reminder that anyone who would like to listen to or view this meeting while in progress may do so by accessing the link that was included on the meeting agenda posted on the City of Medford's website. If, despite our best efforts, we are not able to provide real-time access, we will post a recording of this meeting on the city's website as soon as possible. A reminder that given the remote nature of this meeting tonight, all votes from the board will be made by roll call. Please also know that the project materials for all projects before the board can be viewed on the city's website at medfordma.org. And I believe Amanda will be sharing that in the chat. The link is in the chat. Okay. We want to provide a warm welcome to our newest board members, Sally and Pam. Thank you for joining us, Sally. So now that we've done that, we're going to do roll call attendance. I don't believe Emily, so I will start with Peter Kaufs.
Here.
Ari Goffman.
Present. Fishman now.
Fishman, no Goffman. Okay, I will make note of that. And our newest members, Pam Mariansky.
Yep, present.
Sally Akiki.
Present.
And myself. Oh, before I go to myself to see if Emily has been here, I can't see.
Hey,
Emily.
Jackie, present.
Hi, Emily. And myself, Jackie McPherson. Amanda, can you please introduce any staff that may be on?
Absolutely. So myself, Amanda Centrella, I'm a staff planner with the Office of Planning, Development, and Sustainability. Our director, Alicia Hunt of the office, and as well as our graduate intern who's been working with us this summer, Clem Doucette. And I think that's everybody for tonight.
Awesome. So going to our first project, which is the Planned Development District at 243 Mystic Avenue, which is Verdant Bio. We've been told that the applicant has requested a continuance of this hearing to August 2nd. CDB meeting. Can I have a board member motion to continue the public hearing for this project to August 2nd?
So moved.
Was that Peter? Okay, and Emily second?
Yes, I'll second that. Thank you, Jackie.
Okay, we're going to do a full roll call. All right, and I will start this time. Emily Hederman?
Yes.
Peter Kaufs?
Yes.
Ari Fishman?
Yes.
Pam Mariansky?
Yes.
Sally Akiki?
Yes.
And myself, Jackie McPherson, is also a yes. And for number 3, site plan review, 285 to 295 Middlesex Ave, which is H Mart, pardon. The applicant is in the process of revising plan documents for the board's review. I'd like to entertain a motion to continue this item to the next board meeting date on August 2nd. Can I please have a board member provide a motion?
Motioned.
And a second?
Second.
Okay. And we will go back. Emily Hederman?
Yes.
Peter Kaufs?
Yes.
Ari Fishman?
Yes.
Pam Mariansky?
Yes.
Sally Akiki?
Yes.
And myself, Jackie McPherson, is a yes. Special permit for drive-through use, 3850 Mystic Valley Parkway, which is Bank of America. We just got word that the applicant has requested a continuance to 8/16 board meeting. I'd like to entertain a motion for continuance. Is there a board member that would like to provide a motion?
Motion.
And a second motion?
I'll second it.
Awesome. Roll call vote. Emily Hederman?
Yes.
Peter Kaufs?
Yes.
Ari Fishman? Oh, did we lose Ari?
Nope, they're here.
Her audio went out. She said yes in the chat.
Yes.
You said yes in the chat.
Awesome. Pam Mariansky,
Yes.
Sally Akiki,
Yes.
and myself, Jackie McPherson's a yes. Let's see. All right, so now we're doing the Dover Youth site plan for 550 Boston Ave, Tufts Bacon Hall. I'm going to read the public notice for this. I believe that the applicant is present. Amanda, have you let everyone in?
Yes, just did. Thank you.
Okay. Just want to pull up the public notice for 550 Boston Ave. This is it a public hearing? The Medford Community Development Board shall conduct a meeting on July 19th, 2023, after 6:30 p.m. via Zoom remote video conferencing relative to an application for site plan review submitted by the trustees of Tufts College at 14 Capon Street, Medford, Massachusetts, 02155 to construct a 3,330 square feet infill addition to the existing building at 530 Boston Ave and add an egress on part of 530 and 540 Boston Ave, aka 550 Boston Avenue. A portion of the building on 530 Boston Ave is on 520 Boston Ave, and utilities will be delivered from the 550 Boston Ave property to the 530 Boston Avenue property. The project is subject to site plan review per the City of Medford zoning ordinance, Chapter 94, Section 11.8.2, and requires approval from the Community Development Board for Dover Amendment uses pursuant to the section. Therefore, the site plan review authority shall be the Community Development Board. Plans for this project may be viewed in the Office of Planning, Development and Sustainability, City Hall, and on the city's website. Amanda, will you provide a link for that?
Yes, I'll post it in the chat.
Okay, awesome.
Are we ready?
Yes, we are ready. Amanda, do you want to introduce whoever's here from Tufts?
Yeah, actually, I think I'll cede the floor to Attorney Dash,
Okay.
and feel free to begin your introductions and presentation.
Sorry, can I interrupt for 1 minute? I apologize. This is related to my background conversation that I was just having. Peter, do you want to, you need to state your connection and whether or not you have any financial interest. Sorry.
Yeah, I am an engineer at Niche in a completely different group who is the engineer for this project, and I have no financial interest and can be objective in the discussion of this project.
But we wanted to
I
disclose.
want to disclose that before we
If
start.
anybody had any concerns about that, sorry, we didn't realize beforehand that there was any connection.
Great to put it on the record. Thank you. Yeah. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. Welcome to the new members as well. Good to see you all. Attorney Adam Dash, 48 Grove Street, Davis Square, Somerville, representing the trustees of Tufts College. With me, who will be involved, are Ruth Bennett, the Senior Director for Capital Programs for Tufts, Rocco DeRico, the Executive Director of Government Community Relations for Tufts, Anthony Petrocci, the Senior Project Manager for the Capital Programs at Tufts, Mark Gabriel, Senior Project Manager for Niche Engineering, who are the civil engineers, and Lynn Denninger from Canon Design, the architect. I believe she's having a little trouble getting in, but she's here really to answer questions, not to present anyway. So I will share screen and show you a slide if I can get it to show up here. Let's see. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Fantastic. All right, let me see if I can go full screen mode. Do you see that?
Yes.
Good, excellent. All right, so this is about Bacon Hall, which is known as 530 Boston Avenue. As you heard from the recitation of addresses, and as you've heard from the various projects that we brought before you from Tufts, the addresses and the lots are kind of more of a intellectual exercise than a reality, because this is all part of the Tufts University campus. However, some parcels like this have certain meets and bounds in the deeds, and that's what we're using to calculate things. But just keep in mind that this is all on one campus, even though there are multiple addresses involved. This is the project location in red. You can see Boston Avenue. I'm moving my cursor. Boston Avenue in front, the railroad in the back. You can see here's Dearborn Road, and then this is College Avenue that intersects up here. And this is Tufts properties on both sides of the property. All right, so this is an application for a site plan review of a Dover Amendment use under section 11.8.3 of the Medford zoning ordinance to construct a single story with a basement infill addition at Bacon Hall at 530 Boston Avenue, along with a gut renovation inside and cosmetic improvements outside that I will show you shortly. This is similar in nature, you may recall, to the Eaton Hall project that we got approval from you last month on. The academic use of Bacon Hall will not change. In addition, Tufts University will be running utilities to Bacon Hall and locating a transformer, electrical switchgear, and relocating the existing emergency generator from the roof of Bacon Hall where it is now. And all that'll be on the property to the right over here at 550 Boston Avenue, which is next door. Again, also part of the Tufts campus. And I'll get into this a little more later. There's also going to be an argon tank and an egress that are going to be added partly on 530 and partly on 550, but it's all the same kind of thing. So this is the existing conditions that you can see. The building here, this is what you see, this is Bacon Hall. And then as you can see, there's sort of like an inlet where there's parking. This is looking from Boston Ave. So there's the building. Then there's sort of a cutout where there's the building, and then there's more building over here. So the idea is to do this infill in this cutout area where there's parking and a dumpster. These are the other sides of the building, not terribly interesting. This is the railroad side, which you're not going to see. So the idea then, let's see. So this is that's the existing condition. So the infill is going to remove 6 parking spaces in the front of the property. You can see that they're here now at 530. Then you can see also there's currently really no landscaping along where that infill is going to go. It's just a big open sea of concrete. So this is the proposed view from Boston Avenue. And as you can see, there's the 1-story infill addition I was talking about. This is the existing building, although it's, modernized. This is the existing building that's modernized. And the back is still that existing building, but this is the part that was punched in that had parking and a dumpster and all that. And you can see now it's greenery and building. And it's, again, a single-story addition. And then there's an equal-sized basement below it. And it's set, as you can see, it's also still set back from Boston Avenue more than the existing building is. And then we've done some landscaping here to beautify the streetscape. So this is another view that gives you a better idea of what we're doing here, how it's punched in, and how this is the infill area here. And you can see the access and all that sort of thing. The building exterior is going to be updated and modernized. It's sort of a very 1980s look right now. As you can see, the emergency generator is no longer up here on the roof of Bacon Hall because it's being moved over here to the right, that I will show you right now. So this is the site plan. So you've got here, this is 530. Here's Boston Ave at the bottom, railroads at the top. This is 530 Boston Ave. And you can see this square here, this white rectangle rather says addition, is that infill addition that we're doing where the parking and dumpster are now. And then this is the landscaping that goes in front. You can see this is the building will continue to be used, as I said, for academic purposes with areas for teaching, research, labs, and classrooms. The addition is only 1,665 square feet on the first floor. There's also an equal-sized basement that's used only for storage. This infill addition is much smaller than the infill addition that you approved last month for Eaton Hall, which was a 3,595 foot 2-story addition, whereas this is this 1,665 foot single-story addition. So to the right here, this is 550, and again 530, just for address purposes. You can see here that there's going to be a new transformer, switch gear, and a generator, and all this is going to be in an enclosure with privacy screen and fencing. The generator has its own built-in sound attenuation. So the screening here is visual. This takes out 5 parking spaces you can see here as well for that equipment. And again, the transformer is currently on the roof and is coming over here, which actually brings it further away from the houses and closer to the train tracks. So You can also see in this location, this is where this argon tank is going to go for use in the building. I would say if my high school chemistry education still holds, that argon is a noble gas, which is inert and is used for purposes in the lab. And then this is, of course, over here is this is one of the egresses out from the building. So Tufts is proposing to add also, I would note here, a new crosswalk. So this is the building. Again, this is the same view you saw before. Here's Bacon Hall. Right currently, there is a crosswalk at Harvard Street and Boston Ave, and there is currently a crosswalk at College Avenue and Boston Ave. What we're going to be doing is adding a new curb cut from Dearborn across Boston Avenue to create a mid-strip third crossing. And these blue lines are how someone in a wheelchair from various locations would access Bacon Hall. I also want to point out that there are currently and will remain these 4 accessible parking spaces, which are in close proximity to Bacon Hall, also on the Tufts property in the existing parking lot at 550. So there will be an accessible ramp. There's currently an accessible ramp at Dearborn and Boston Avenue, because there's a crosswalk that crosses Dearborn right now on the other side of the street. And so using that existing handicapped or accessible ramp at the intersection at Dearborn, that's the place we'd like to make the crossing over to our side where the Bacon Hall is, because that is a safer location to do this. So the feeling is that these 3 crossings will serve the needs of the Bacon Hall project. So the parking for Tufts employees at Bacon Hall, that's who the parking is for. The parking is for the employees. And that at Bacon Hall and 550 Boston Ave, as I said, we're taking out the parking spaces currently in the infill area in front of Bacon Hall, as well as the ones at 550 where the generator and such are going, that those employees will be accommodated by Tufts in their other existing parking lots and garages, which have excess capacity, especially since more employees now work remotely and the new Green Line stations have opened. So it's not as if, while there will be 5 to 8 more employees at Bacon Hall as a result of this project, they're not new Tufts employees. They're being relocated from other places on campus and put here to accommodate the academic purpose that we will explain a little more detail later. Of course, students don't drive from classroom to classroom, so this was never really for student parking anyway. This is for staff. And again, this Tufts has the unique opportunity to sort of tell people where to park on campus. And so we will be able to put the staff in the proper locations. So there will be no real parking or traffic changes due to the project, although we are obviously moving some things around. So I want to be clear that the initially filed plans, because I thought there might have been some confusion, that the original filed plans were revised on July 10th. To add a new utility plan to change the utility access. And we were showing some running from the left side over here to the building. And now, as you can see, because here's 530 Boston Ave and here's 550 Boston Ave, and you can see here's where the transformers and the electrical switchgear and the generator are all going and how they'd be accessing Bacon Hall. So we are not coming from the other side now. Tufts is not going to be, as a result, digging up the sidewalk to the left of Bacon Hall. And I would like Mark Gabriel from Niche to actually explain this a little better, because he's the engineer. Mark?
Hey, Adam, thanks for that. Appreciate it. Just first of all, Mark Gabriel, Niche Engineering. I'm a senior project manager there in the planning and resilience department. I just want to make sure everybody can hear me okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. So yes, as Mr. Dash was just saying, the original plans that were submitted as part of this application showed, if you will, left of this plan or north of the building, there was a proposed routing of thermal utilities from what is known as Bray Hall to the facilities building to the south. It was a short trench of excavation. But that work is no longer part of the project. We've been able to find that the existing utilities can service the building without having to be removed and replaced. So that's been removed as part of the project.
Thanks, Mark. Just want to make sure everybody's on the same page, because I know the original application plans have been changed to this. All right, great. Thank you. If you're curious about the project schedule, this is it. Just a note that Tufts held a neighborhood meeting on this project on April 26th. So we have done that. I want to go back to here. So as this board knows, the Dover Amendment projects such as this are limited to 2 inquiries. One, is this a Dover protected use? And obviously an academic building clearly is. 2, what reasonable regulations to certain things should be imposed? The existing dimensional measurements of this project will not be made worse, except the existing non-conforming maximum lot cover will be increased. And again, that was because we're doing the infill. And this was the same with Eaton Hall, which was approved last month. It's also, as I said before, more of an intellectual exercise as to how much the lot, quote unquote, is and where the borders are, because everything in the campus sort of bleeds into each other. But being technical about it, technically speaking, taking the 530 Boston Avenue lot as a separate lot, we would be increasing the maximum lot cover. And the one required loading dock is not being provided because it is not necessary for our academic purpose for this building, although the zoning does require it here. Ruth, I'd like, for the academic purpose, I'd like to have Ruth Bennett explain this. She can do it better than I, as to an exciting academic purpose that this building is being put towards. Ruth?
Yeah, great. Thank you. Ruthie Bennett, Senior Director of Capital Programs. So Bacon Hall actually is part of an area of campus that includes another building across the street, Bromfield Pearson. And this area is becoming the locus for our climate change and adaptation studies. So Tufts is creating a climate institute between these 2 buildings, Bacon Hall and Bromfield Pearson. The Office of Sustainability is moving into Bromfield Pearson. And really this area is going to start having many of the faculty who focus on not only studying climate change, but adaptation and energy transition technologies. So this building is the second part of a renovation for this area of campus. So we're really excited about it because that's, you know, for the city of Medford, but also to Tufts, it's really critical that we start understanding how to adapt and how to do the energy transition we need to do. So thank you.
Thanks, Ruth. So therefore, the applicant requests that the board approve the site plan review of this modest Dover Amendment project, which will remove the existing front yard parking, provide a nicer looking building and landscaping to improve the streetscape, provide 1 new crosswalk at Dearborn across Boston Avenue in addition to the 2 existing crosswalks, will make Bacon Hall ADA accessible and more energy efficient, and will allow Tufts University to expand its climate studies work to help save the world. So thank you very much. And we have other folks here as well to answer any questions that the board may have.
Thank you so much, Attorney Dash, for the presentation. I am going to open it up for public comment at this time. And actually, before we go to public comment, I'm going to open it up to the city staff if there's anything that you want to add.
Actually, just a quick request. I'm wondering if, for the sake of just conversation for now, if we could stop sharing screen to see people. Would that be okay with folks?
Yeah.
Okay. And I wasn't sure if so wait, a little behind the scenes chatter just to keep things, just to make sure that procedurally we're all in check. I wasn't sure if, Peter, did you want to stay on deliberations, or were you?
No, I was looking to recuse for this item.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Peter. I don't believe we have any additional staff comments at this time. Initially, we there were some comments from engineering and traffic that PDS also was in agreement with about the inclusion of crosswalks. And we did meet with the applicant earlier this week. They addressed, they provided a proposal with 1 crosswalk, which we feel sort of is definitely getting us there. And I think otherwise we felt other comments were addressed.
So as of now, all of the city staff comments have been addressed, including the fire department?
Yes, and I believe the fire department comments, we were provided a memo by the applicant team addressing each one of those. And I will say that in speaking with the city engineer, he did want to make clear to the board that, he maintains his recommendation about 2 crosswalks as opposed to 1. And of course, it's at the board's discretion.
I can state, just Adam Dash again, that the reason why we're not doing a second crosswalk is A, it's not needed for the Bacon Hall project. And we didn't feel that being a Dover amendment matter, that having sort of city infrastructure improvements done, which were not related to the project, really wasn't part of the Dover analysis. Secondly, the crosswalk, I don't have the slide up anymore, but they were talking about one over at St. Clements Road. And the feeling was that that would not be a safe crossing due to the fact you have this weird triangular intersection of Boston Avenue and St. Clements. And then if you cross the street, you basically end up into the parking lot of Semolina's, which really wasn't the place where you wanted to be. So it felt as though, since there were already 2 crosswalks at either end of the strip, and putting one sort of by Bacon Hall in the middle at Dearborn, where there's already a handicapped ramp at that corner, that sort of created a midpoint. And if you, and I can pull up the screen again, but I don't, you saw it. But if you look at all the houses and all the people and all the campus, everyone's pretty close to one of those 3 crosswalks, one way or the other. And that the second one's kind of just not necessary and not particularly easily located on that strip. So that was our thought.
And with the absence of the city engineer, I'm not exactly sure, outside of those recommendations, what the board would be able to deliberate on, based on the fact that this is covered under the Dover Amendment. Alicia, did you want to weigh in on anything before opening it up to the public?
No, we met with Tufts about it. We had talked with some of the details. We do like having this mid-block crosswalk, but this is a pretty simple, straightforward project. They tried to butter me up by pointing out that they were going to have climate scientists working in this building, but it's a reasonably good project. So,
Okay.
Ouch.
True.
just teasing.
It's true.
Ruthie and I worked together in previously on energy before she ever worked at the city at Tufts University. So.
Does the board want, I'm going to open it up now, to see if the board has any clarifying questions before I open it up to the public. Does anyone from the board have any clarifying
I do.
questions? Yes, go ahead, Amelia.
So, I feel like this crosswalk has kind of piqued maybe a few people's interest.
Mhm.
Because this is a Dover Amendment project, would we as the board even be able to request the addition of a crosswalk, or is that beyond the scope of what we're able to do today?
I would note, it's Adam Dashkin. I would note for the applicant's position is that the Dover Amendment allows, parking regulation. It doesn't, and height and massing and that sort of thing of the building. That does not mention anything about doing, city infrastructure improvements. We're really, it's this crosswalk across the city street. We're obviously willing to do it. And that was a discussion that we had earlier this week, as Amanda said, with the city to work something out. And, it helps everybody at the end of the day. And there's already a handicap ramp there at that corner. So at Dearborn makes some sense. But as far as this building project doesn't need 2 crosswalks. So and I don't think Dover really allows that to be one of the things that can be conditioned, but we're willing to do the one. We're willing to do the one. I just don't, there's just no purpose to the second one. I understand maybe Medford wants the second one, but that really has nothing to do with the Bacon Hall project and what it needs to get people there. So we felt that was not something that we would do. But the one crosswalk, I don't think we even have to do that, but obviously we're willing to do that because it makes some sense.
I hear that, what I'm hearing is that the one crosswalk is a courtesy, and we do not have the authority to require a second one. Does the city concur with that?
I think, I think that generally,
we're not talking about something that we can't even influence.
I think,
Yeah.
that we're sort of at that point.
Okay, that's fine.
Can I also, this is Rocco Jericho, I'm sorry, Director of Government Community Relations at Tufts and 14 Capon Street in Medford. Just to add to the one crosswalk that we are proposing connects Tufts property to Tufts property. So that's why we feel, you know, we're happy to do that. It's going above and beyond the usual scope of a project. The other crosswalk that was connected would not connect on the other end to Tufts property. It's connecting to St. Clement's, which is another institution. So like we feel we're connecting a crosswalk that will, as Ruth mentioned, connect the Earth and Climate Science Institute with our other institutions. And we expect a flow of pedestrian traffic to use that one crosswalk.
Okay. Thank you guys for answering that question. I really appreciate it. I don't have any other questions, Jackie.
Thank you. Does the board, any of board members have other questions? And hearing none, I'm going to open it up to the public. You can, let me just, those who wish to provide comments can use the raise hand feature or message Amanda in the comment. You can also send an email to ocd@medford-ma.gov. Before providing your comments, please state your name and address for the record. Remind all meeting participants to refrain from using the chat function to provide comments as it is not part of the public record. However, if a participant is having audio or other technical difficulties, this may be entered into the chat to alert the chair and staff. Amanda, can you please manage the public comment queue and read any previously sent emails or letters if you do not see anything?
Absolutely. So we haven't received any letters or comments ahead of the meeting. I'm just going to refresh our inbox just in case now, and I am not seeing any raised hands in the audience or the participant list. Oh, let me admit Lynn, but I think she's part of the applicant team.
Yeah, Lynn's our architect, yeah.
Yes. And yep, seeing no new comments in the email inbox.
Okay. So I will close the public comment period at this time, seeing that there's no public comments, and I will bring it back to the board for deliberation on this. Does anyone have, any of the board members have anything that they want to add to speak as far as the decision on this?
Hi, Jackie. Can I
Hi,
chat?
yes, of course.
Wonderful presentation as always. I feel like the presentations that your team puts out should be the gold standard for future applicants. I'm very supportive of this project. Working in renewable energy myself, I'm really excited to hear that Tufts is embarking on this type of work, and I have no negative comments and look forward to supporting it.
So I will close the deliberations by actually echoing what Emily has said. I appreciate your detailed presentation. Attorney Dash, I appreciate your stance on reminding the city and the board exactly what is limited within the Dover Amendment. And I believe that we have covered all of the items that we needed to. And I'm going to ask for a motion to approve.
If I may, Jackie?
Yes.
The chair. I just had more of like a question of interest to the applicant, which was, I wondered if is the applicant pursuing any, just as a climate and resiliency center, is the applicant pursuing the use of solar at all for this structure?
I'll answer that. So we actually have looked at solar on all of our buildings on the Medford Somerville campus. We've probably put 80%, we've covered 80% of the roofs that don't have limitations because of roof equipment. So part of the challenge is that this roof isn't big enough with all the equipment that's already on there to make it useful. Viable, right? Sorry, not useful, viable. Also, we have a third party. We work with Power Options. We have a third party who sort of puts the panels on there. So if there isn't enough generation, it doesn't become viable for them. So this project doesn't have it. I would say, like I said, we've covered 80% of our roofs. We have 2 or 3 more projects that we're working on to put solar on. So not in this project, but yes, 2 or 3 more that we're we're trying to finalize.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, Amanda, as I was saying, I'm not sure that we can impose any kind of conditions going forward. The proponent has done a detailed presentation, which I believe covers everything and under the scope of the Dover Amendment. And as has been said, providing one crosswalk as a courtesy, I'm not comfortable myself as just one board member imposing any other conditions before recommending that the site plan be accepted as is. And in saying that, I would see if any board members wanted to make a motion to accept the site plan, the Dover use of the site plan for the 550 Boston Ave.
I'd like to make a motion.
Is there a second?
I would like second.
And I'm going to do roll call. Emily Hedman,
Yes.
Peter Cowles is not on. Ari. Sorry, I just lost my screen. 1 second. I apologize. I'm just trying to see who's here. Ari Fishman,
Yes.
Pam Mariansky,
Yes.
Sally Akiki,
Yes.
and myself, Jackie McPherson, is a yes. Thank you so much, Attorney Dash, Rocco, and all others that have done your presentation. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair,
Thank
and
you very much.
good to
Thank you,
see
Chair.
you all.
Thank you.
Have a good
Appreciate it.
evening.
Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, we're going to come to board elections. Actually, before we do board elections, Amanda, would it be, should we vote on the meeting minutes from 5/17 first?
Sure. Can just get it
approval-
out of the way.
The approval of minutes. Peter, have you rejoined us? I'm sorry, I'm having
Yeah.
technical
I'm here.
difficulties.
I'm back.
Okay, awesome. I wanted to see if anyone wanted to make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from 5/17/23.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Awesome. And so I do have a clarifying question before we go forward. Amanda, are we what board members that were not present at the time of, will their vote carry?
Yes.
Okay.
It's strange in concept, but yeah,
Okay.
a member who hasn't been at the meeting minutes in question is allowed to vote on those minutes.
Okay, awesome. So I got one motion. Did I get a second?
Yes, from
Awesome.
me.
All right, so we're going to do a roll call vote. Emily Hedman,
Yes.
Peter Cowles,
Here. Yes. Sorry. Forgot which roll call we're doing. Second name.
Ari Fishman,
Yes.
Pam Mariansky,
Yes.
Sally Akiki,
Yes.
and Jackie McPherson. I'm a yes. Now to our final topic, or close to final topic, board elections. So the board, as we know, our former chair has termed out and he has left. And so now we have to elect a new chair, as well as me sitting in the vice chair position. That position has to be reelected. And then we also need a community preservation committee representative. That's just to start off the conversations. I have decided to put my hat in for the chair position. And I didn't know if anyone else was also vying to be chair.
If you didn't put your name forward, I was going to nominate you.
Well, thank you so much for the vote of confidence, Emily. With my technical difficulties and everything over here, I'm like, I guess hearing no other names, I'll do a roll call vote for Jackie McPherson for chair. Amanda, is that correct?
Yes, that sounds right.
I just wanted to make sure before I pompously move forward. Emily Hedman.
Enthusiastic, yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Peter Kels,
Yes, definitely.
Ari Fishman,
An enthusiastic yes.
thank you. Pam Mariansky,
Yes.
Sally Akiki,
Yes.
and myself, of course, I'm Jackie McPherson. I'm a yes. Now, is anyone, because now there's no vice chair to back me up, or as per our ordinance, would anyone like to put their hat in for the vice chair position?
And if I may, Chair, just as a reminder, vice chair duties. So the idea being that in the absence of the chair, they, would be first in line to step in to help facilitate a meeting. If, for example, the chair maybe has to recuse themselves for an item, we would turn to the vice chair for assistance in that. And Jackie, if you have any, tokens or mementos, that's the wrong word, but anything you want to add to the description about kind of the role you've played, please feel free to help inform folks.
No, definitely. Thank you, Amanda. I think you've captured well, and it's literally a backup to the chair where if David has to recuse, the former chair, Bloomberg, had to recuse himself for anything, which is maybe only once or twice that I've known that him being chair. I've had to step in. I've had the opportunity or honor to step in. And then obviously now with him having turned out, I was able to step in and provide the chair role now. But there was no difference than being a regular board member, but just knowing in the back of your mind that, he would reach out in enough time to give you that option. So it wasn't like it was a surprise or anything like that, but just being a backup.
And I think perhaps it's helpful for people to know. Amanda has been preparing, and Danielle will continue to prepare as we do this, an actual script. So if it seemed to you that Jackie was saying almost exactly the same things that David said, if you ever have to step in, we actually provide here are the things that you need to do, and these are the questions you need to ask. And, so you're never just have to figure it out or remember on your own. We actually provide you with that in advance so that what's going on. I think that was an invention, I think, of Amanda's, and it makes things a little less stressful for everybody. So that helps facilitate these meetings.
And some of the things, just for full transparency, the city has been awesome in helping to guide conversations, not so much to just giving another perspective of what we should be looking at, not so much in how we're to determine anything, but so we've been getting a lot of administrative assistance from the city in that respect, which I have definitely appreciated from Danielle with the PDS going forward. So you're never out on a limb, kind of, just to give that background.
I'd be happy to step up and put my name forth for the vice chair election.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Emily.
I welcome competitors or co-conspirators, however we want to frame it.
Thank you so much, Emily, for stepping up. And we are going to do a roll call for Emily if there's no other people that want to vie for the position of vice chair. So roll call, Emily Hederman.
Yes.
Yes. Peter Kels.
Yes.
Ari Fishman.
Yes.
Pam Mariansky.
Yes.
Sally Akiki.
Yes.
And of course, myself, I am a 100% yes, Jackie McPherson. Thank you, Emily, and welcome.
Thanks for the opportunity.
As vice chair.
I think this means the clerk position is now open, though.
So I just
That is true.
So now we're just going to come back to Amanda and sort of ad-lib here and say, okay, so now we have the clerk position. And one of the things that I've learned about the clerk position is that I was asking Amanda about taking conditions as we're going through the meeting and things like that, if I'm supposed to write them, if Amanda's supposed to write them. And I think that's something more that the city wants to lean kind of on the clerk for. So just keeping that in mind, not to scare anyone away, but Amanda, you can go into more detail about that position.
Absolutely, yeah. So,
If I am already doing it.
and Emily, if you want to offer any of your insight as, former clerk now, you're welcome to. But I think clerk position, the understanding is in terms of role, reviewing the minutes in particular, to ensure that, they're matching what memory of what occurred in the meeting, looking for any errors there. And I think we were talking a little bit with Jackie about, and by we, I mean Danielle and I, whether it might make sense to have the clerk participate in sort of, as deliberations are going on, capturing notes about conditions. And that's something that I do, and I'm happy to continue doing. And I think why we're suggesting it is that it can be helpful to ensure that there's another person, just to sort of, safety check that things are being caught, or maybe the framing of something is a little different than, how I jot it down or something like that. But that's this is a new thing that we're sort of discussing, and we can talk with a new clerk about what makes sense and what doesn't.
Yeah, I can add, it was a very straightforward role. Having previously served on a different city's redevelopment authority, I brought over like a few updates to the practices, but overall, Amanda, Alicia, and Danielle are fabulously organized. So there weren't a ton of duties. And the rest of the board does do a great job in terms of reviewing the minutes. I think we've all had corrections at this point that we've brought up. The added responsibilities to me make sense, and may allow the board to kind of retain its independence. We obviously look to the city for advice, for recommendations, but at the end of the day, we are, an independent board, and this could be an important step for us.
Thank you, Emily, for articulating exactly what I was trying to articulate.
So just to clarify, this isn't going to be responsible for taking own notes, just kind of double checking existing notes.
So clerk would be responsible for reading and reviewing the minutes, which would be taken by staff and produced by staff. Which is something that I think most people are doing now anyway. But just having at least one person designated on that is really helpful for kind of keeping track and keeping pace with those as they're churned out. And then the added piece of having someone who's keeping track in a meeting if there's, discourse or deliberation on potential conditions, capturing some of those in your own notes, to ensure that, at the end of the call, meeting, as we're kind of listing out conditions, what I've captured is aligned with, what actually happened or what the board is remembering. So sort of like a check on what I'm capturing.
Got it. If someone else is willing to do the community development board, I'm happy to do that.
Do you mean the Community Preservation Board?
That's the one.
Yes. So yeah, maybe rather than voting on the clerk right now, we could kind of open up the discussion to also if there are folks that are interested in the Community Preservation Committee representative role.
And for the new people, the discussion is that it is that a member of our committee sit on that committee. The previous representative from our committee out since the last meeting. I agreed to take it on from, but it's not particularly my area of priority, and I have enough personal stuff that I don't really want to do it all year. So we were hoping that we could revisit and see if any of the new people are interested. It does involve working to allocate an approximately $1 million budget across the city. I think it is a really valuable committee. Just in my personal life, it's not a great time to be adding a second one. So.
Yes, and if I can add a little bit more context, thank you, Ari. So the Community Preservation Committee, I think I've mentioned to each of you, responsible for, allocating or making recommendations to City Council for the allocation of upwards of $1 million of funding to very important projects that fall into one of three, or maybe fall into multiple of these three buckets, which is affordable housing, open space and recreation, and historical preservation. And I'm sorry.
Oh,
Did
no,
someone?
sorry, I
Okay.
was clearing my throat.
Oh, no worries. And so there are so many amazing projects coming out of the city and also out of the community at large that are touched by CPA and funded through it, at least partially and sometimes entirely. The meetings are once a month. I believe they're first Tuesdays in the evening over Zoom. And it's a little slower in the summer, so sometimes no meetings then. And it is important to have, rather than rotating folks in and out of it as a representative, it does feel important to have someone who's there for a full year because there's an annual funding cycle. So to have someone sort of like punch in and then another person punch in later, it would be hard for understanding sort of the full, process and seeing where following an application or applications through the process. But it might make sense to, rather than have someone have a term of 2 or 3 years, the full term of their CD board enrollment, if you will, to change it up annually if there is a fear of being able to kind of commit on the longer term.
I do just want to thank Ari for their involvement in this position. It sounds like it was a lot of work. So thank you so much for doing it, so far.
I haven't had to do much. The July meeting was canceled as part of the flow. So it's actually been a very light lift for I'm just trying to be responsible about next year and knowing that I wouldn't be able to give my full commitment to 2 committees.
But I appreciate your previous willingness and your current transparency.
Yeah.
Sorry, so I was kicked out of the meeting for a little bit. I apologize if I missed, if anyone at your presentation, Amanda, of the what it entails to be a CPA representative. Wasn't sure if anyone wanted to, if anyone had put their name in the hat. I'm sorry, I'm not even sure if any of you can hear me. Okay.
Yes, sorry, we can hear you.
Please pardon my technical difficulties. I'm working on 3 different computers now, not just one.
Oh, no.
So it's just, that's life. Okay, so in this,
I'm sorry. I was going to say there are a couple more. So we have, 2 associate member roles and 1 final full member role that we need to fill. And perhaps it makes sense to delay this and let folks think a little bit about, what the commitment might entail. Introduce new people.
I definitely want to
into the
look at my Tuesdays to see. I mean, if nobody else didn't do it, wouldn't necessarily be opposed to doing it, but I would need to look, I mean, kind of similar to RA, like I want to make sure I'd be able to not overcommit myself and then not be able to do it.
Understood. Yeah. So yeah, perhaps the approach, and I'll let you all decide, is maybe we wait and take this up at the next meeting, and folks can kind of mull it over. And of course, please feel free to reach out to me or Danielle if you have questions. Danielle actually used to be the coordinator for the CPC. And so she would have, plenty of insight as to kind of how the feel of it.
And the previous representative is very happy to chat and answer any questions as well. I definitely just volunteered her for that, but she offered it to me.
Teresa is great and very, yes, absolutely. She's our new coordinator, and I'm sure she would be happy to speak with a prospective member.
So we're going to table for now. So are you okay staying as CPA rep in the interim, or are you?
Yeah.
Okay, so you'll stay as, and then we'll revisit clerk and CPA going forward. Okay, Amanda, do you have any miscellaneous updates or announcements?
Yeah, maybe I'll just, I know that there are a few folks that will be absent at the next meeting on August 2nd. So thank you for letting me know ahead of time. It's extremely helpful. I know that's not always possible, but thank you. And for the folks that will be attending, there will be a couple of interesting things on the agenda, some of which were planned to be for tonight. So, you'll have a head start on some of those meeting materials, thankfully. We'll have 2 PDD, so Planned Development District conversations that evening. One of which is 243 Mystic, which was the one originally planned for tonight. Right now, we're working with them to button up a tidy draft amendment to present to you all. So we'll see that. And that's for Verdant Bio, the proposed lab structure on Harvard and Mystic. In addition, the folks that are new won't know this, but others will be familiar with 100 Winchester Street. It's a planned development district, residential with like a potential office or daycare use on the side. So they came to the board some weeks, maybe month or so ago, and presented kind of an initial proposal for planned development district. We worked with them and they submitted something to City Council. City Council is required to automatically refer that draft back to the board. And so this will be that secondary phase in this process. So public hearing, discussing again the zoning, but it has evolved a little bit since the last time you guys saw it. So I think it will be an interesting conversation. And then, we'll see. I think, again, mentioned this a ways back to some of the previous members, but there were some kind of immediate term, urgent zoning ordinance changes that City Council and our office drafted together. And those changes went to City Council and they've been referred to the board to review. So that'll be on the agenda next meeting as well, along with site plan review for H Mart, and that's it. Site plan review for H Mart, which was originally for tonight. So a couple of things on the horizon. We'll try to keep, I'll keep all of those materials. Maybe I'll start a folder with the materials from tonight that will still be relevant moving forward and send it to you all, just so you all have it in one spot and you can refer to it, because I know it is a fuller agenda. So having stuff ahead of time, hopefully to give a little bit more time for review if you want it. And otherwise, I think that is it on my end. Alicia, anything you want to add?
Welcome to the new members. And I did actually want to share with the board that our office has hired a climate policy planner. who will be starting on Monday. I'm very excited. It's somebody I've worked with before in the past. So I'm really glad that she's joining our team here in Medford. I guess now we're close enough. Everything's signed and sealed. Her name is Brenda Pike. She's also a UEP grad. So I actually met her before she actually was at UEP, ironically. But that we're very excited about. We are still taking applications. If you know anybody for economic development director, for economic planner, and administrative assistant. So there are opportunities to join our very fun, exciting office where we do all kinds of interesting things. If you know anybody. So we've shared those around in the past, but the city's website has a jobs listing that has those positions listed. Actually, I should make sure that climate planners come down now that that's signed and sealed. So anyhow, I just wanted to share that. I am not sure if I'm going to be on the next meeting. I kind of need to be because of some of those items, but I will be on vacation that week. So you'll all have to forgive me if I have a beautiful beach background when I'm on the call.
There was one miscellaneous item that I want to discuss openly, speaking of assistance from the city, and having discussions with Amanda, we were talking about the ability to have site visits. I know that sometimes when we get the materials, we have just enough time to visit. I mean, just enough time to go over them and not really enough time to visit. And Amanda has offered a solution that can pretty much help the board implement or make a site visit happen. Amanda, do you want to speak on that?
Absolutely. Yeah. So definitely recognize that, often there's material to go through and it can be hard to schedule a site visit especially if there are multiple sites that you want to check out before a meeting. And so Danielle and I are kind of putting our heads together a little bit, and we get applications obviously far in advance of putting them before the board. And so for things I don't think that there's a necessity. I mean, and you may feel otherwise, for every single item to require a site visit. And historically, it's not been a practice in recent years. But there are some projects where there might be some nuance to the grade of a site that's like really hard to capture in just looking at Google Maps or at some of the kind of 2D renderings or site plan, et cetera, renderings. And so we would like to identify those kind of ahead of time and let folks know a couple weeks in advance of any meeting or public hearing that the opportunity to visit is available. And so we would help coordinate and kind of orchestrate that. And just wanted to sort of introduce it as something that you might see from us. And also if you had concerns about any of it, happy to hear.
Thank you, Amanda.
Can you clarify for them, just so that it's clear, would such a thing be like required of board members? Would it be quorum? Would they be invited to go individually and look at sites? Or are you talking about visiting as a group in a way that would have to be posted? Like if there's more than quorum, it might have to be posted. So just so everybody's actually understanding and on the same page, different iterations of that went through my head.
Absolutely. And I think like Danielle and I need to think a little bit more about it, but I don't think that we would require flat out like anyone, but I think there would be some strong recommendations. Also, it might be, maybe we could talk to you guys about what would be simpler, but I feel like in some senses, as long as there's a range of times that are available for folks to pop in, that it would be easier and more flexible for people to go individually and just check things out. And by site visit, I mean, very informal, walking the site, just getting a feel on the ground. No necessarily like no tours or, definitely no presentation happening while there.
Thank you for the clarifying question, Alicia, as well as Amanda, following up with that. What I had more in mind is like, for instance, I will get for myself, for my own interests, sometimes I will get the material and I'll say, oh, I wish I had time. I just, I just did my walk on that, or I was at the grocery store on that side, and I wish I had a chance to kind of see this, because it'd be like some tiny like nuance, but that's just for my own personal preference. And so I thought maybe it could be opened up to the entire board, not so much as mandatory or even a required, but more if you had the time and you wanted to be able to see a project, if they thought that there was like a problem, someone that could not be pretty much understood on paper, if we can get enough time to decide if we wanted to go out individually and see the site.
It's what you're saying, like, because you get email saying, here are the locations, here's the information, like a week in advance. But
Yes.
some of these, we actually have the filings 35 days
Yes.
in
You have
advance
them-
because we have to circulate it to department heads.
Exactly.
Would you prefer that when we circulate it to department heads, that we let you know these are the things that are coming up? Like I was just trying to think if there was a way that we keep for ourselves lists of what addresses are assigned to which dates, because we have to keep track of them. If there was some way to share that information so that you could know, like, oh, a filing for 100 Winchester Street came in, it will be on your agenda in September, but now you know that it's there.
Mhm.
And because anything like that, it would be in advance of department head comments. And we send you those as we get them in some cases, or closer to the agenda, but at least then you would be aware that it's coming.
Mine is more so like if it's a PDD and it's coming to a certain area, like we're very new at the PDD process. So let me see where I want to see it in, visually, off paper kind of thing. So that's more of what I was talking about. It's not going to be every single project, but just if the board wanted to see something that they had an interest in seeing on the ground. That's all. Not everything. I think a lot of the things that we can pretty much tackle virtually, but just if there was like an extra, not to burden the board more, just giving them extra help in trying to figure it out. That's all.
I feel like some people really like as much advance notice as possible, and other people want to just focus on the things that are in front of them.
Yeah.
For the next upcoming. And I think that in my mind, the only way to accommodate that is to say, well, if we provide you all the information, you have to decide for yourself. That's not coming for a month. I'm not going to think about it, or I want to know about it. Right. Like, we certainly need to give all the board members the same information at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like, I can't tell Jackie, but not Emily about an upcoming project. Right. Like, that is one piece of it. Pam, did you have a thought on it?
Yeah. Is that something, not to put more work on anybody else, but, Amanda has, whenever the meeting come up, that file folder, could there just be like a running Excel sheet in there where just if people are interested in what's coming down the line, could that just be sort of a standing document that's always in that folder that we get in advance of a meeting, just for people who are interested in like knowing what's coming down, and that way everybody has access. Or I don't know if everyone who needs to have access will have access. Maybe there's another way to do it, but one thought.
I like the idea, because there's basically every time there's a meeting, I send you guys like a new folder, but that subfolder exists in a larger folder that in theory, you could all have access to. It's all just organized by date. So I could put a spreadsheet in that larger folder that just lives there, that keeps track of meeting dates and, as agenda items kind of pop on. And then if there are things that Danielle, for example, is like, oh my gosh, this would probably make a lot more sense to someone if they see it on the ground. We can flag it for you all and try to give you some notice. But then otherwise you can just kind of look to the sheet to get a sense of, what's coming up, and if there's something of interest that you want to check out on your own time.
Right. So, Amanda, are you thinking they've probably never had shared to them that enclosing file, the Medford CD board shared files?
Yeah.
And so
I'm thinking of sharing that.
Right. So if you were to look in this folder, And I don't know if I could just share it if that's helpful. I don't know if a visual, for some people, visual works really well.
Here, I can actually, I've
Here,
got it.
your
Oh,
screen.
go ahead.
Like this, right? So this is a folder that every month for every meeting, Amanda makes a folder. And then inside of it is the folder that you see. But then we have some additional planning efforts, reference resources, and archives. We could have a spreadsheet at this level. Amanda, I don't know at what point you actually build out those folders, because I was just thinking, like, in my mind, wouldn't it be easier as you get stuff to immediately start to build out the folder for August 2nd and August 16th to start to put them in there? I know that you then renumber them, so they all get named with the number they are on the agenda. Right. So each of these is one of the agenda items for tonight. And obviously you wouldn't know that information until the agenda is settled, but you would have had these files already that are in there.
There is like a decent amount of kind of like updating of materials and like revised materials that get sent to us. So I don't know how early I could give like the meeting materials, like and I don't want to confuse folks by putting stuff that's like, you know, that gets changed out later or something like that. But I do think like having the full folder that has all the archived materials and this living spreadsheet that just shares, you know, what the meetings are and what's going on there is definitely easy and feasible if it's going to be of helpful to folks.
Right. To be clear, an applicant may send us a site plan and landscape plan and civil and get comments from our traffic engineer and revise it and send us a new version. And so our goal is to not make you look at all those iterations. And we don't want to waste your time looking at a version that then gets replaced with a newer version. So at the point that Amanda sends you the files, these are the ones you should be looking at for the meeting. And if you had seen the original version, that might be the same, but it might not. And we don't want to waste anybody's time looking at what they think are final files, but they're not final until they get the comments from the traffic engineer and the civil engineer. And you know, sorry about when we blew up last week.
So would it be
files?
would it be helpful on this spreadsheet to add the status of the project, like if it's still under review by the engineer, so that whoever is planning to go out, so that they know if the drawing would be final or not? Maybe adding a status would be helpful, like under discussion or under review by the engineers or ready to be reviewed by the board.
Yeah, I think we can do something like that. And I think I don't want to have too many different spreadsheets that like staff is working off of versus like board is looking to. So maybe I'll merge some stuff. But I think, yeah, like having, you know, status, intended meeting date, and maybe, you know, a little description about what it is could be a good place to start. And if there's anything else that people would like, you can let me know.
Thank you for even entertaining it, Amanda. I didn't want to add any extra arduous tasks onto it at the same time, just like with land use, right? You want to make sure that you're using the board's highest and best use of time. But I just know that there has just been a couple of instances that I wish I had a little bit more time to myself. And so I was just opening it up for the board. And I didn't mean that to make that a huge thing, but
no, I think it's a great suggestion.
Well, thank you for the discussion, everyone. At this point, if there is nothing else on the agenda, if no one else has anything to add, I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion. I'll second you, Pam.
Second motion. Okay. So roll call vote. Emily Ademan.
Yes.
Oh, Vice Chair Emily Ademan. Peter Kaus.
Yes.
Ari Fishman.
Yes.
Pam Mariansky.
Yes.
Sally Akiki.
Yes.
And myself, Jackie McPherson, is a yes. Thank you, everyone. And See you on August 2nd.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night.
Right.